Welcome back everyone to today's video. Today I'm going to be discussing a very budget-oriented component, the Shimano Hyperglide 200 cassette 7-speed from the Tourney line. And I wanted to cover this part because, again, it's one of those categories where either the videos on YouTube are odd, they're just short and just recording it, not so much reviewing it, or the big time cycling channels will not touch a budget-oriented component like this. If you are new here, I cover true budget-oriented parts. None of what those other bike channels say that $3,000 bikes are entry level or components that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars are entry level. I actually cover true entry level parts. I'm going to discuss why I'm going with this cassette, show the installation, and then finish up the video by doing a review after about a week or so of use. So the reason I'm going to be installing this cassette on my Specialized Crossroads cruise from the early 90s, also if you wanted to see a ride video, be sure to check out this video after, is because the current cassette that is on this bike, I usually spend majority of my time in the 15-tooth cog and the 17-tooth cog, and I'll put the gear ratio on the screen below. Because when I'm in the 17-tooth cog, I feel like I spin out a little too easy, and then when I'm in the 15-tooth cog, it's a little too hard. And with this cassette, it actually jumps from a 12-tooth to a 14-tooth and then to a 16-tooth. So that range I feel like is gonna work better for my cadence and my power, and that's what I'm gonna test out. Now, if you're just starting cycling or just a recreational rider, you don't really have to worry about this too much. But when you're more experienced and really know how different gear ratios feel, but regardless, I'm still going to see if this shifts just like other Shimano cassettes that I've used in the past in my other videos, and see if it holds up. I know this is treated with a rust preventative coating, so that's actually pretty cool. And I feel like the durability is gonna be there. But without further ado, let's get this installation going. So if this is your first time coming across this channel, I actually use friction mode on my bar end shifters and use a SRAM
Smash, flinging, the flash, springing, ringing.
And my rear derailleur is a SRAM Rival 1X. I have that set up where it works perfectly fine. And again, since it's friction mode, I don't have indexing, but just because I don't have an index doesn't mean I can't tell if the shifting is good or not, because I have used Suntour freewheels that didn't have the design that Shimano inputs in their cassettes. So I know what fair friction shifting feels like and what good friction shifting feels like. Again, with this cassette, I see that Shimano has implemented that design as well. So I have a lot of confidence that it's gonna shift pretty nice. Oh, and part of my dirty bike, it was raining like crazy and I was rolling through some mud earlier. So another factor why I went with this cassette is my rear hub can only fit up to 7-speed. I can't do 8, 9, and 10-speed. So I was kind of limited with this. However, I don't have to use a 7-speed spacer on this hub. Whereas if you had a rear hub that takes 8 to 10 speeds, you do have to use that spacer. And I'll put the millimeter down below of the size you need. But if you need to learn more about how many speeds your cassette can hold, there is a great video by RJ the Bike Guy that shows you how to measure it and to determine what size cassette you can put on your rear hub. It's so dirty, but it spins so smooth still. All right, here's my filthy old cassette. And here's an idea that popped into my head when I bought this cassette is, I know, I'll be willing to admit, I can't push a 12-tooth cog even with the 42-tooth front chainring. However, the 13-tooth cog, I might eventually install that after I do a full review, just to make it more comfortable with the gear ratios that I desire. And the original cassette has a spacer, so it looks like it's the same size, so I don't have to worry about compatibility. Regardless, I'm gonna set this aside and then install the 12-tooth cog and the lock ring. Okay, now that it's installed, the cassette spacing on this cassette should be the same as my previous one, so I don't think I need to tinker too much, but I'm still gonna test it out. Just a little adjustment. Another fact about my channel for those who are new here, if you see a more expensive part, I either get it used or at an extreme discount. Most parts I will never pay full price. And there you go, installation and adjustment complete. I'm ready to go ride, and the next footage you see will be probably a week from now. I'm gonna get a few good rides in and give you my thoughts. All right, so actually it's been 2 weeks since I've installed this cassette because I really wanted to put it through the tests, see how it performs, and really have an accurate conclusion with me being a more experienced rider and not a beginner cyclist. So I know what is a good and bad cassette. I know what's a good and bad freewheel as well. But for this cassette, I'm pretty impressed. As far as the gearing goes, once again, I was looking for a 16-tooth cog in the cassette, but the range from the 12-tooth to the 28-tooth is actually perfect, especially for my 1x setup. And in fact, I swapped my front crankset with a Pro Wheel crankset, so I'll do a future review video on that. But it's more than enough for riding on the road at a very fast pace. And for the 12-tooth cog, I kind of thought that I was going to switch it back to the 13-tooth cog, but with a 38-tooth front chainring, it's perfect. It's more than adequate for the road. But of course, being a gravel bike, I didn't want the gearing to only be good on the road and struggle on the gravel. So I think the range is perfect for gravel as well. And especially that I have it set up in friction mode. I can just sweep the chain all the way to the lowest gear immediately when I need to. And it doesn't skate, it doesn't skip gears whatsoever. Also, with the 12 to 28 version, climbing is really good too. So I am in Florida, so the little hills that we do have, it's more than adequate. Shimano does make a 12 to 32 version, but that's not too much more of a range. But for me, the 12 to 28 works. And speaking of Florida, it's over 90 degrees every single day now. And as long as I have an electrolyte mix, I can last all day. So I highly recommend, if it's super hot in your area, electrolyte mixes make the difference. All right, in conclusion, was this cassette worth it? Absolutely. This should have costed more. The quality is so good. Usually when you're looking at budget parts, you kind of have that doubt in your mind of, is it gonna last? Is it decent amount of quality? Especially when you're more of an advanced cyclist and not a beginner, you can tell those little differences if it's good quality or not. The way Shimano has designed the cogs in all their cassettes, it really catches the chain when I'm upshifting and downshifting, and there's no skating whatsoever. Including when I'm using my bar end shifter and I'm hitting something like sand and I really need to sweep across the cassette, it's gonna catch the chain all the way in the lowest cog and there's no hesitation. Another thing too is I wanted to see if the rivets for the cassette became loose after a while, and I've experienced this with a poorly made cassette on my state bicycle all-road that I purchased years back. This cassette is staying together tightly. There's no loose play like I've experienced in the past. Yeah, there's a factor I haven't used a shifter that is indexing, but again, I've mentioned that I've used old school freewheels that didn't have that cutout design Shimano puts on their cogs, and there was skating involved. The shifting was poor, including in friction mode. And this is just beautiful. I'm sure once I get an indexing shifter, it's gonna be just as good. Oh, and also I have a 9-speed chain on this with 2 quick links to extend the chain because I needed a longer chain. Works great. There's no issues at all. Honestly, it feels like this is one of those hidden gems that it fits a niche audience. For example, myself, where I can't use 8 to 10 speed cassettes because my hub is limiting me to only 7-speed cassette, and also one that is going to last. I just want it to be functional, durable, and it's gonna last a long time. I couldn't care less about weight. That's not me. Also, another update, I got a set of Panaracer Gravel King SKs on here, and I converted these Araya rims from Schrader valves to Presta valves as well. But I do hope you enjoyed this review video. I really wanted to cover in depth this part because, again, like I mentioned, a lot of elitist cyclists won't even come close to these parts. So I wanted to inform some folks out there who are in my position, budgeting, maybe doing a Frankenstein build as I have right now. But if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer them. And if you want me to review any other part that you see on my bike, let me know. I'd be more than happy to. Once again, thank you so much for watching and joining me, and I'll catch you in the next video.